So some of you guys know I really like enjoying using COMC. I add a lot of my raw cards to sell on the site, stuff that's like under $25, some more expensive stuff as well, but I also like it for flipping. The problem though, what I have with COMC right now is the seller stats. So if we go here to my dashboard and I go into seller stats, there's not a ton of data to work with. And if you guys don't know my background, I started as I have electrical engineering degree. I was a data analyst for a few years, and now I'm a full-time data scientist at a fintech company. So I rely on data pretty heavily, and I make a lot of decisions based around the data. Well, you can go over here and you can see sales by like batch, year, month, and I show these on my COMC recap videos, right? You can see like month, year, total sales numbers sold. You can click on it, you can see, acquisition date, purchase by, but really like there's not a lot of detail based around breakdowns, like how many baseball cards did I sell? What was my average margin on that side of things? So it got my brain running. I'm like, how can I go about this process and improve it? Well, one thing that COMC does provide you guys, and I'll just go back to my dashboard really quick. If you go to sales history, you can see you can download sales history. So if I just download this right now, and I'm going to upload this or load this up in Excel. It looks like it just loaded over here. You can see we have an item ID, sport, set name, card number, description, serial number, quantity manufactured, purchase, sales, COMC credit, transaction, promotion, date sailed, batch, acquisition, purchase by, and then is a return. So I automate a lot of Excel calculations at work. I build out something called Streamlit applications. If you're not too familiar with the programming side of things, no worries, but it's like a basic UI. And I use something called Python Pandas, which is a library in Python, and I can manipulate Excel documents quite easily. So I wanted to see just if I could build out a basic MVP for some data based around what I sell on COMC, just for personal use, also helping out the community. And I think this will be a really good addition to my COMC videos that I make every single month. So really quick, before we jump into this application, a few things. Number one, my application is not done yet. I'm putting this out here right now as an MVP, which is like a minimal viable product. The reason why is there's a ton of sellers on COMC and a lot that watch this YouTube channel. I want to get more ideas and feedback from the community to make the app that I'm building better. Now, this app's 100% for free. We'll go over a little bit more of the details about it. I built it just for my data and all the YouTube videos, but you guys can check it out and use it if you want. Now, the link to it is comcstats.streamlit.app. So this is hosted publicly on the Streamlit cloud, and all of the code that's associated with it is on my GitHub account. I'm actually going to upload a YouTube video going through this code on my data YouTube channel, which if you guys don't know, I also upload every single week over here. And I'm going to scale this out even more over the next few years, as well as breakout cards. But this is kind of just like a portfolio where I teach myself some stuff. I also build videos. I mean, like while loops, for loops, that's kind of basic stuff. But I do have like AI videos, LangChain, stuff like that too, where I want to learn and build out some projects. So I'll eventually go through this. Also to note, this code is kind of sloppy still. I need to work on this code in general, but it's a starting point, right? The other thing I did want to call out on here, because I did talk to a few different COMC sellers, and one of the things that was brought up is if I stored the data or not. You can take a look at the code. It's all public. I don't store any of the data. So it's all confidential. You can go through it and see it yourself, but you can upload your spreadsheet and you can see your own stats. In fact, I'm going to show you guys my stats as well. So comcstats.streamlit.app. I do have a little bit of text over here. So I'm just calling out my two different YouTube channels, which I need to link over those. Not a big deal. Again, this app's free. If you want to support it, just, maybe purchase a card on my COMC store. So maybe go by oldest over here, or like whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can buy a cheap card, buy an expensive card, buy something that hasn't sold in forever. But anything does help because I definitely want to scale my store up. And it just says upload your spreadsheets below to get started. I don't store any data. GitHub page. Again, I'll link this over here in my next version. And if you guys do have some feedback, feel free to reach out to me on social media or email or anything like that. I prefer you email me at Ryan Nolan Data if talking about this application itself. I also do take on some freelance work. So if you have any data that you need to run for your company or projects, hit me up over there. I am also open to full-time opportunities. With one last pitch before we show the app, I know COMC has 2 different full-time jobs I'd be possibly interested in. A senior SQL database engineer, and I don't have the experience yet, but head of product development. And look, there's a lot of things that I think I could help with COMC on the product side just by using it. Like there's things I think could streamline COMC, make it a little bit better. And again, I run data every single day, so it's a little bit of a shift. I do work with others to help produce a lot of the YouTube videos, and I'm pretty active in the card community, and I'm always trying to learn. So I'm not afraid of challenges. So a little bit of that. And I already talked about my background being a data analyst as well as a data scientist, electrical engineering major. And yeah, let's jump into this app. So first thing over here is you want to upload a spreadsheet. So let's upload the spreadsheet that I just downloaded. And we're just going to grab this over here and go over here and go to sales history. Okay. So what we have first is a few different filters. The first one that we can filter on is a date range. So what this defaults to right now is the first date of a sold item and then the latest date of a sold item. I do plan on adding another edition where you can upload multiple spreadsheets. The reason why is on COMC, you only can download the spreadsheet of the current year. So if I wanted to see 2023 data with 2024 data, it's not possible in the app. Honestly, it'll probably take another few lines of code to build this out and just a little bit more testing. But my next version, which I'll make another video on the channel about, we'll have that implemented. So you can filter by the sold date. Also, you can filter by the acquired date. So you can see the earliest card that I acquired that sold this year was on 8/22 of 2023. You can change that date. So let's say you want to see all cards that you purchased in 2023 and how they're selling in 2024. Adds a little bit more flexibility on that side of things. And this was actually brought up by Check Out My Cards. He's one of the bigger sellers on the platform. So he gave me a little bit of initial feedback on this first version that I've been building out, and been really helpful with that. Okay, next we can filter by sales price. So we have a few different options over here, which, by the way, I didn't even show you guys these options. So like when you go to select date range, you can go over here, you can do custom, or you can do 7, 30, 90, 180 days. I can build out more stuff too, right? Like 365 days. It doesn't really matter, but you have those options so you don't have to change these start dates and end dates. Sales price selector. So we have a few different options over here. 39 cents. The reason why we have a 39-cent option is anything under 39 cents defaults to, I believe, $1 on the COMC store on eBay. Now, I don't personally flip cards that are under 39 cents unless like I see a really good deal. That's something I have to still research a little bit more about and see, the ROI on my time. But I'll figure that out over time. 75 cents if you have a free account, right? $2.50. Again, if you have an upgraded account, I believe it's $50 a month. And then anything over $2.50. You also have this custom option, so you can change a start price, end date, or end price. I just made this end price by default this super large number. I can go in here and default it to the highest price sold. I just wanted to keep it like this. If someone wants to have some feedback and change it there, no problem like that. Okay, next is added versus flipped. So there's 2 different ways to add cards to the website, whether you added a card yourself manually or you just bought a card to flip. So the data is not the best right now with added cards. I'll show you guys what I did for added cards, but you have that select option and we can filter it down. Next is categories. So by default, I selected all these categories. I still have a few categories I need to add from COMC, but these are the categories that I sold cards from. So that's what I just threw in here for testing purposes. In the future, I want to build out a button also over here to select all. Don't select all. That way it makes it pretty easy. If, let's say, you only want to look at baseball cards. Right now you have to go here and click all this stuff, and my app will change in real time. But regardless, I don't want to do that. It's kind of a pain. So I'm just going to build out that button. Didn't have time yet, but that's something probably going to be in the next update on this app. Okay. So another update I want to do in the future is add more graphs. I'll be honest with you guys, graphs are pretty important for visualization of data, but I only put 2 in here. So I put the sport breakdown and then also like the decade. So you can see like baseball, basketball, football. Like I sell baseball the most. That's what I really know. Surprisingly, I don't sell a lot of non-sports. I thought I would have been selling more, but also if you think about it, like I flip a ton of baseball cards where I don't flip a lot of non-sports cards, although I add a good amount of non-sports cards to the site, and they're less liquid. Now, you can also take a look at the specific decades. I'm playing around with this data. Sometimes I first was looking at making it like 3 years or 5 years, but I think the decade works best. So you can see like my wheelhouse on stuff is like 1990 to 2000, and then 2010 to 2022. I sell a lot in this range. A lot less back over here, barely anything for 1940 to 50, which makes sense because we had the war, World War II, and there was not a lot of stuff that was produced in that time frame. Surprisingly, I had a lot in 1880 to 1890. A lot of the non-sports side would go over there. So that's just what this data looks like right now. I put some quick stats. I want to expand this out also, but you can see cards mainly added that were sold, 227 flip cards. So you can see like most of the stuff I sell is things that I flip on the site. Serial numbered cards. This is probably for more modern people, but like, do you sell more serial number or base? I sold 131 serial number cards. And then I wanted to see, where were my cards being sold at? Was I selling mostly on eBay to other COMC sellers or cart? So you can see I mainly sell to other COMC sellers with 1831 over there. And then the average purchase price of a card that I intend to flip is about $3.63. Okay, now we're going to go to some other stats breakdown. Again, something that I'm going to build out a little bit better in the future on here, but we have the different sports. We have the profit and sum for those. I can show you somehow these calculations are built out, but we have the sales count, the markup median, days to sale median, and then the annualized return for each of these. Now, what I was talking about with added cards to the site. So there's 2 ways that you could approach this, and I haven't tested both ways yet. But you can see over here, purchase price, like these cards are blank, right? So this is a 1901 Ogden's General Interest. Oh, they're both Ogdens, right? 1894, 1907, which was, I don't believe there was black Ogden cards in 1907. But we also have this 1901 over here. And the purchase price is blank. Well, I don't know like what I paid a long time ago. So I've gotten split feedback from COMC dealers. One person mentioned that I should just default it to the price on the site to add the card. The other person wants to have an option to add prices to it. So I think the best approach right now is to keep it as is. If you want to fill in your own data on here, so like let's say it cost me $1 for this card, and then there's an insertion fee of 50 cents. So I just put in $1.50 over here. You input that in initially. The only issue that I have with it right now is if we go that approach, how I filter for flipped versus added is if that column is null. So, and if you don't know what null is, that means there's no data in that column. So if you do manually add it, it's going to be considered as a flipped card. So that is one downfall I have on the app right now with the data side of things. I could tweak it and maybe we make a new column or something like that, but it's kind of weird to go with that approach with how it's represented. Regardless, I think the best way right now is 0.5 for any card that's listed as site that's not flipped, and then $2 for anything that's over 99. I still also need to look at adding a way for like when you add in slabs to the site. So let's say you add in a slab that's under $100. There's obviously more of a cost than 50 cents. Or if a slab's even over $99, I believe it's more than $2 to add to the site. I can't remember. But regardless, this also currently does not factor in storage fees. So that would be a future add to this report essentially. But again, this is the first version. So let me show you a little bit of the calculations on how we built out like profit sum, total sales amount, sales count, markup median. So I go over here, right? And where is this at on this side of things? A little bit lower in the code. Let me just control F for markup. I know I see markup there for my data frame. It's a little bit earlier. Okay, so markup is going to be 100 times the sales price minus the purchase price divided by the purchase price. Profit is going to be your COMC credit minus the purchase price. Again, all these type of calculations are over here. How I calculate annualized return, sales price minus purchase price divided by purchase price times 365. I divided by days to sale. Days to sale is how long it takes. I multiplied that by 100. All public, right? But we can see some of the initial stats based around that. And then I use the median because median is a better number than your average. So the problem with using averages is with extremes, which you will find with a lot of COMC data. Sometimes someone will have a great flip, right? Like let's say you buy a card for $50, you get it graded for 20 bucks, you're into it 70 bucks, and then you sell it for $500. Well, that $500 is really going to sway the data, whether you're taking a look at like the annualized return or median or anything along the lines of that. So that's why I made the median over here instead. And that's why I use annualized return median. Just a better approach. What's interesting enough is I suck at selling golf carts. I have a negative return on that. I didn't buy a lot of golf cards, so you can see sales count being 7. So it's a marginal amount of data. Really, all these under here isn't a lot sold. Boxing I did really well with, but I've only sold 14. So I think those are mainly cards I added to the site. I could be wrong, but that's something I need to do a little bit better job at. You can see non-sports and multi-sport. I have a great annualized return. Baseball is at 455, but it's pretty stable. All right, so you can also see advanced profit by quantile. Now, if you don't know essentially what quantile are, so you can take a look at quantiles, deciles, stuff like that. It's kind of distribution of how everything works, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. So if you want to look at like the middle, that's going to be your essentially what your average is around. So you can see like average baseball flip is anywhere from 33 cents to 63 cents profit wise, right? Basketball, if you go to 40, 60, you can see 31 to 54. You can see 30 to 70 if you want like a little bit wider of a range. But baseball, I know I'm making anywhere from a quarter to like $1 for the middle section of those cards that I'm flipping. On the high end side of things, $3.50. On the very low spectrum, it's a dime. And I want to increase that number. I don't really want to be flipping for dimes. I want to get more towards like, I'm pretty good with the 25 cents essentially to $1. It adds up really fast, right? Especially if you're selling hundreds of cards each month. All right, days to sale. So you can see baseball side of things, right? My average day on that right now is about 36. So not horrible. Basketball moves a little bit better for me. We're about 25 days. Football, 24 days. But you can also see with football, I did sell 266 cards. So that's actually pretty good. So something I need to probably explore a little bit more on that side of things. Golf was, I thought it was atrocious, 231 days. Yikes. Hockey at 39 days. Marvel, 140 days. It kind of surprised me. Pokemon being 21 days, but I didn't really flip too much Pokemon. You can also see the markup on here. So 40 to 60%. Right. And then annualized return. See how well that is working across the board. Boxing is just kind of nutty, but that's because I'm pretty sure I added a lot of this stuff to the site. So that's kind of the first version of this. Again, there's a lot that I want to add on in the future. I think this would be a great data tool for these videos, and if you're a seller on the site as well. So again, if you need any data projects or anything else like that, feel free to email me. If you want to get into coding, check out this. And then COMC. I mean, I'm interested in both of these. I have experience with coding, data, and a lot of cardboard, where I have an extensive history with pre-war, non-sports, historical figures, things like that, baseball. And I'm a pretty active user on the site. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do want to see more videos like that, let me know. And oh, the other thing, I'm going to have a full code walkthrough on Ryan Nolan data. I don't know when that video is going to be done yet because there's still a few other minor tweaks I'm going to add to this app, especially after some feedback. But there will be a video over here showing you essentially how to use Streamlit, why I coded everything, and way more in depth. I mean, I'm sure people watching this video here on the baseball, or not baseball, but like card channel, don't want to see Python programming. So check out my other channel. But that's just a little bit of shout out there. All right, see you guys in another video.